Hi everyone, this is Lori Sawaya, and thanks to Lane and Layout a Day for including me in this month's Scrapinar. The format of today's video will be Q&A style, and I'm going to answer a few color questions that Lane tells me are asked most often. Those questions are, first, how do I know what colors go together? Second, what colors do I use to enhance and not clash with my photos? Third, how can I create a mood or feeling or emotion with color? And last, what are the trending colors? So let's jump right in with the first question, which is, how do I know what colors go together? The best resource for color inspiration is to take a page from Mother Nature's coloring book. For example, a garden, a landscape, or a shoreline. But anything with a pattern and a colorway can serve as color inspiration. Textiles, wrapping paper, or even the product packaging you see on shelves at the grocery store. A classic resource you can easily keep within reach is a color wheel. I have mixed feelings about color wheels, and I can tell you why. If you spend any time on Pinterest, you know that infographics are all the rage right now. You could say that color wheels were actually the first infographics. What I mean by that is, a color wheel is simply the supporting illustration or graphic to a color theory. The color wheel's function is to roll up the fundamental highlights of the theory into one easily referenced graphic or guide. That's what I love about color wheels, is that they are an easy to reference color guide. The part where it starts to get a little dicey is the fact that behind every color wheel there is indeed a theory. When it comes to certain color challenges for graphic design, interior design, architectural paint, and the built environment, color wheels are only of value if you understand the theories behind them, because only then can you know which color wheel and theory you need to solve particular color problems. So if you don't understand the theories behind the wheels are of no value, and you might as well use those as coasters. Fortunately, the question, how do I know which colors go together, is not a difficult color challenge. And it's easy to answer with any number of color wheels, because if you recall, I said that a color wheel's function is to roll up the fundamental highlights. A key fundamental highlight is color relationships, which means how colors relate to each other, in contrast or harmony, to create pleasing combinations and schemes. The most commonly known color wheel used for identifying color relationships is this one. It's labeled as a guide to mixing color. This wheel has 12 spokes or hues, and all too often this standard color wheel is recommended as if it's the solution to every color conundrum that exists. And that's just not true. If you have ever peered under the white circle on the front side of this wheel, you will have noticed that the colors underneath are all jumbled up and there appears to be no rhyme or reason. Well, that's because this side of the wheel is showing what happens when you mix colors. The other side of this wheel is a little more useful for understanding what colors go together, because it does show a tint, tone, and shade for each color on the wheel. It doesn't show you very many colors, which means it leaves a lot of blanks for you to fill in on your own. While this color wheel is okay, what you need to know is that there are many other kinds of color wheels that are better for color inspiration. Let's take a look at a few that I think are very helpful in demonstrating color relationships and what colors go together. You can find these online at art stores, and even bookstores will sometimes have them in stock. The first one is the Rainbow Color Selector. It also has 12 spokes or hues. Each section on this wheel features the hue parent, like yellow, red, or blue, plus tints, tones, and shades. The selector comes with instructions that shows you how to coordinate the different colors found in each section to create harmonious combinations. This wheel has a broader range of colors than the first color wheel we talked about. The other thing that's really nice about this wheel is that it's an at-a-glance type of reference, meaning you can see all the colors you have to work with at once. It's all kind of right there in front of you. Next is the creative color wheel, and I really like this one because unlike the guide for mixing color, this one is a guide for choosing color schemes. And color schemes is exactly what we're after for page layouts. This wheel has 18 spokes or hues, and it shows a range of color tints on one side and tones and shades on the other. Not only are there more colors on this wheel to work with, but they are much more realistic and in alignment with the everyday colors we capture in photos. The last color wheel I want to talk about is called the Studio Color Wheel. This one has 24 spokes or hues, and it breaks down possible color relationships for each hue within each section. All of the other color wheels we've talked about so far are based on the primaries red, blue, and yellow. This one is different because it identifies the primaries as cyan, magenta, and yellow. This is a good example of how there are different theories with regard to what the real quote-unquote primary colors actually are. Red, blue, and yellow versus cyan, magenta, and yellow. This debate about how the two theories differ revolves around color mixing practices and how pigments interact. In a nutshell, you get different results depending upon the primaries you choose to use to mix colors. Some people think red, blue, and yellow work just fine, and the number of colors you can mix using just these three primaries is more than enough. While others believe the red, blue, and yellow theory is wrought with flaws and is just plain wrong. The argument for cyan, magenta, and yellow, beyond simply being the correct set of primaries, is that you can mix a wider array of colors and the resulting color relationships, contrasts, and harmonies are elevated and more sophisticated. For example, with the red, blue, and yellow primaries, red and green are complements. Whereas with a cyan, magenta, and yellow primary color wheel, classic complements would be aqua blue and orange red. The good news is that to answer the question, how do I know what colors go together, the intricate debates about the best way to mix color doesn't really matter. What's important for the purpose of page layouts is where can you find resources that provide not only color inspiration, but also provide some direction on how to combine colors and create color relationships. So for this purpose, all logically arranged color wheels are options. Pleasing color schemes can be derived from either a red, blue, and yellow primary color wheel or a cyan, magenta, and yellow color wheel. Whichever one is better is entirely up to you. Having a collection of color wheels like the ones we've talked about that illustrate different theories means you have multiple color combination ideas at your fingertips. Whenever you feel like you're falling into a rut with color palettes for your layouts, just try switching up the color wheels. Now that you have several resources for color scheme ideas, let's talk about putting those ideas into practice. And that leads us to the next question, which is, what colors should you use to enhance your photos and not clash with them? Clash versus contrast. This is the classic color showdown. Intuitively, people simply do not choose color combinations that do not harmonize. Everyone has a little voice that speaks up if something doesn't look or feel right. The trick is to confidently trust that inner color sense. You gain more color confidence by clarifying if it's truly a case of disharmonious, clashing color combinations causing an ooh kind of response, or is it just the juxtaposition of high contrast harmonious colors that's causing a big punch, that's some color in your eyeballs response. So look at your photos for coordinating colors. Each image has its own palette. Deconstruct that palette and pull individual colors to create an overall coordinating color scheme. Here's an example of what I mean. Imagine the photo pixelated and then choose dominant and/or complementary colors directly from the photo to create a palette for your layout. To be sure the colors you've pulled from the photo relate to each other, you can always check against a color wheel to see how they line up. And don't forget about contrast. Whatever elements you choose to use in your layout to enhance your photos, you want to make sure the colors contrast juxtaposed to your photo in all the right ways so they don't blend into the photo and just disappear. If you notice in these photos, I pulled a darker color and a lighter color, not just one middle of the road mid-tone color that matches the photo in a generic way. What you want to do is think about how the palette you are designing for your page will work together with the photo. A good guideline is a palette of at least 2 colors, ideally 3 colors, but not more than 5. These graphics that I just showed you are from an upcoming project I have in the works. So if you notice, my color strategy wheel has 10 spokes or hue families, which is different from the 4 color wheels we discussed earlier. And that just further emphasizes the fact that there are several options for finding color inspiration and many different ways to define ideal color relationships. So let's move on to question number 3, which is, how can I create a mood or feeling or emotion with color? Color psychology is mostly about nature and nurture. Color meaning is derived from a mix of biologically innate and environment. Combined, those 2 factors form the language of color, and that is the point of departure where individual color vernacular develops, which is why color can speak universally to many people, but also subjectively on an individual basis with regard to mood, feeling, and emotion. Understanding the language of color gives focus to whatever it is you are designing, from the pages of a scrapbook to a commercial billboard. There are 7 keys to color psychology. Those 7 keys are meaning. Every color has an inherent meaning. Number 2 is nature and nurture. We already talked about that a little bit. And again, color meaning is derived from a mix of biologically innate and learned from environment. Number 3 is context. Color grows more effectual and moodful when in context. Number 4 is response. Color evokes a physiological and psychological response upon its perception. Number 5 is reaction. Color can cause action, change behavior, influence mood, and sway opinion. Number 6 is the Trinity. This is my favorite one. Response to color is conscious, subconscious, and unconscious. Like it or not, we all respond to color in those 3 ways. And last is nuance. Nuance is the tint, tone, and shade. And the tint, tone, and shade of a color affects its overall meaning. If you Google color psychology or color meaning, a ton of links will pop up. It's not hard to find information about the meaning of colors. But I have made an ebook, and it's called Color Secrets Unlocked, Color Psychology and Meaning. It's a compilation of Venn diagram style infographics that shows how nuanced color meaning can be as color shifts in tint, tone, and shade. So to create a certain mood or evoke a particular emotion on each page, my suggestion is to carefully plan your color palette. And let's talk about how to do that. First, take a look at your images and what colors can you pull for the layout, and at the same time think about the feeling you want to come through from the image and translate to the whole page. Follow that thought process through and then edit the palette so the final colors you choose to use in your layout not only coordinate with the image but also conveys the overall feeling you were going for. For this example, green yellow in the top circle is a good choice to use with this image because 1, it coordinates, and 2, the green yellow conveys growth, promise, and thriving, which is the overall theme of the image. So let's move on to the last question, which is, what are the trending colors? Color trends are always changing, and several sources release annual and seasonal trend palettes. The trends are fun to keep up with, and I always look forward to learning what colors the trend forecasters will choose to feature because it's like a fresh take on color. And looking to trends is another great way to get some new color inspiration and combination ideas, and it's a way to break out of a color rut if you happen to be stuck. Pantone.com is a premier source of color trend information. In case you don't know what Pantone is a catalog of ink colors. It works like any other catalog. Each item, or in this case, each color, has an item number, and you specify that color number for all your projects that use Pantone ink. For example, you choose a Pantone color for your logo, and every time the logo is printed, whether it's on a t-shirt or a business card, the Pantone color number ensures the color is as consistent as possible from material like t-shirt to material like paper for a business card. This graphic shows Pantone's Spring and Fall 2013 color palettes. You can follow Pantone on Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest to find out when they release new, seasonal, and annual color palettes. Announcing a color of the year might be Pantone's biggest claim to fame. Although, others have jumped on the color of the year bandwagon. For example, major paint brands. Benjamin Moore's color of the year is a light yellow called Lemon Sorbet, and Sherwin-Williams named a minty green called Aloe as their color of the year 2013. But going back to Pantone for a second, here's an infographic I made of Pantone's colors of the year going all the way back to their very first one, which was in the year 2000. You can find this infographic on my website, thelandofcolor.com, and you can pin it from there, or you can download the PDF if you want it. I included RGB and hex codes, which can come in handy for those who work digitally. Another resource for trend forecast information is hall5.com, and that's hall-5. They partner with Sophie Color, which is another color library similar to Pantone, but Sophie Color is focused primarily on textiles. Hall5 also features its network on its website. Hall5's network is comprised of other people and businesses in the color trend forecasting industry. Full access and full network information is only available to registered Hall5 users, but if you don't want to register as a user, you can still scroll through the thumbnails and get names of additional resources for color trend perspectives and information. Sophie Color also releases seasonal and annual color palettes. Here's one from their Spring 2014 collection. Now, with all of that said, I think it's really important to remember that color trends can be a resource for color inspiration and ideas, but color choices for your layouts should be more about planning a palette so it coordinates with and enhances your images and also conveys the mood and emotion that you're looking to achieve. Choosing colors that will work really well to feature your photos will ultimately result in better looking page layouts than injecting the hottest trend colors where they don't fit just for the sake of using an on-trend color or two. Pantone's color of the year might be emerald green. It might be the hottest new color on trend, and you might be seeing it absolutely everywhere in the stores, from a potato peeler to skinny jeans. But it doesn't make sense to plaster emerald green all over your page layouts if there's nothing in your images for it to relate to. And I think that wraps up all 4 questions. I'd like to thank all of you for joining the webinar and listening in. And also thanks again to our host Lane Amon for inviting me to the Scrapinar to talk color. Lane's website is layoutaday.com, and you can always find me over at thelandofcolor.com. I'm also very active on social media, so be sure to connect with me. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at FunColors. My Facebook page is facebook.com/thelandofcolor. And my Pinterest board is pinterest.com/colorgraphical. My most favorite Pinterest board right now is the I Love Color series. And color graphically speaking, it's all about what your favorite color says about you. Check it out, and I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thanks, everyone.